For this standard, I will demonstrate my understanding of AECT Standard 1 content knowledge by looking at projects where I created, used, and assessed things in a professional manner. Also, I help to manage people.
To show that I was creating, I'll show you the artifact Copyright and Fair Use, a scavenger hunt activity. I used Dreamweaver along with HTML and CSS languages. I embedded a YouTube video and followed good elements of design. As you can see, there were directions with questions and answers for students to follow along on and to guide their learning. My next artifact was about Google Drive. I made a report on this. This showed how I used the technology appropriately. I used Screencast-O-Matic to make my videos, Word to make my lessons, and Google Forms for my surveys. The next part, assessing and evaluating, I'll show you my artifact on Web Tools for Teacher, a design document. Here I had to plan out many things from curriculum to design. Also, I made several assessments for students with rubrics. I assessed myself and saw where I could make changes, and this was helped by a subject matter expert. The next part of the standard, managing, concerns my review of our content management system, RenWeb. I met with my principal over the summer and we came up with objectives and ways to improve our content management system. This involves surveying the stakeholders and communicating with administration about any possible changes or improvements that were needed. Lastly, for my digital divide assignment, this refers to the standard of ethics. I looked at where there was inequity in terms of access to the internet and other resources. This assignment helped me to gain a better perspective for the rest of the world and what they may be lacking. I then correlated it with my own school and made accommodations for those students that needed them. For Standard 2, Content Pedagogy, I will show my mastery of this standard by showing artifacts that I created, used, assessed and evaluated, and managed, people and ethics. For my first artifact, I made a concept map for teachers of mathematics where they could collaborate and link into different curriculum based on the grade level and the difficulty of the class. You can see here some of the curriculum options that they could click on and discuss. In terms of using the technology, I made a pencast, and this recorded my pen strokes. I also had myself in the little window down here in the corner where I was speaking to them to make eye contact and engage the audience. In terms of assessment and evaluation, in my adult learning online class, I wrote a reflective post on how to build an online classroom. And so I assessed and evaluated that process, talked about how it's not always easier to teach online and how there's some challenges with building rapport and such. In terms of management, I gave students some choices. They did a virtual tour of churches, but they had their choice, and there were different ways in which they could engage. Questions and answers, podcasts, there were maps, virtual tours, especially of the Basilica. It was a 360. And then lastly, I did a web quest using Google Sites called Overpopulation Catholic Response, and the responsibility of the student was to pick a side of overpopulation being a myth or reality, and they had to use the 7 Catholic social teachings to do so. And they were given some resources to help them with that. Thanks for watching.
Standard 3 of AECT involves learning environments. In this video, I will briefly show how I created, used, evaluated, and managed learning environments in an ethical manner with respect for a diverse group of learners. In my graphics design class, I created an image entitled Sprouting Good Ideas, the Google logo. The roots were growing into clouds, a symbol for Google Cloud and a symbol for imagination. I learned about how to use negative space, and that leaving space to connect the ground to the clouds did not necessarily have to be white. In my multimedia class, I learned how to use my knowledge of learning to make good learning environments for my students. In this slideshow, I discussed 5 keys to transferring knowledge to new and similar content. Fading from a full worked example to a problem, promoting self-explanations, providing an instructional explanation, providing multimedia principles, and supporting learner transfer near and far. In this course on teachers using tools on the web, I use several types of assessments to make good decisions about instruction. Chat, rubrics, there were group assessments as well in the various modules. I did a lot of writing in my evaluation class that taught me how to manage learning environments. In this artifact, I need to reflect on what made for a good evaluation. That did involve managing technology infrastructure, for sure. I promoted healthy, safe best practices in regards to copyright and fair use with this assignment, and accessibility with this assignment. And in my Jigsaw learning environment, there was a home group and expert group. The expert group learned a particular lesson and then brought it back to their home group for collaboration. Thank you for watching.
In this video, I will demonstrate my understanding of AECT Standard 4, Professional Knowledge and Skills, by showing collaborative practice, reflection on practice, assessment and evaluation techniques, and ethical behavior. For this research paper, my classmates reviewed my work as well as my professor, who has a PhD and could be considered an expert in doing research. For my next artifact, my Apache server, I was able to create my own server using WAMP for Windows and no IP. I had never done anything like this before, so it was a challenge. Once I finally figured it out, I was able to put together a tutorial to help others learn to do the same. In my next artifact, reflection on practice, I reflected on the performance of my school when it came to technology. I wrote a summary of how we were doing by identifying ourselves as emergent, island, integrated, and intelligent based on a model by Peter Sibley and Chuck Kimball. You can see that we evaluated ourselves on items with administration, curriculum support, connectivity, and innovation. This certainly helps to get the big picture of where our school is going with respect to technology needs. For our next artifact, assessing and evaluating, I show you my ID final project. For this assignment, I assessed and evaluated Google Drive by asking students questions about their experience. I also had subject matter experts evaluate my work, and I adjusted and made corrections based on their feedback. Lastly, where ethics are concerned, I have an assignment known as CARP. CARP stands for Contrast, Alignment, Repetition, and Proximity. I wrote about the importance of using these elements and how one designs their coursework, as we all appreciate those elements in graphic design. Thank you for watching. In this video, I will demonstrate my understanding of AECT Standard 5 research by exploring, evaluating, synthesizing, and applying methods of inquiry that enhance student learning. For my first artifact on theoretical foundations, I'll reference my learning theories paper. In this paper, I looked at theories from many psychologists to help guide my learning. This included Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, Piaget's stages of development, and Skinner's behavioralism models. The next artifact after that is on method, and I did a job description of instructional design. One of the main problems we all face upon graduating from school is how to get a job in the field that we were trained in. This assignment had us learn more about that process by making us make our own job description. I came up with a job description, the requirements with skills, education, etc. Also, I needed to discuss the difference between an instructional technologist and a teacher. The next artifact concerned assessing and evaluating, and for that artifact, the assignment was on typography. In this assignment, I assessed and evaluated my own artifacts of graphic design. My wife was my chief critic. I also got feedback from my classmates and my professor. I did make changes along the way to make my message clearer. My last artifact concerns ethics. And for this, I wrote about the code of professional ethics in educational technology. I did some writing about it, and I also did a formal assignment where I posed the question of access of my school and how we could act in the most ethical manner to providing the technology needed for our community. In the AECT Code of Professional Ethics, there is a pledge to the individual, the society, and the profession. Thank you for watching.